Guys, before we call it quits for this week, there's a fantastic film out there. So we're going to have the Muckrakers cinematologists discussion. Spotlight.
Yeah, I saw Spotlight the other night. I just, it's a great film, very interesting, and obviously, you have a special interest in relation to the Bostonian aspect of it, and it's about the investigation by the Boston Globe Spotlight team, hence the name, in relation to priests abusing children, and they expose this scandal. And I found it, as an investigative reporter myself, very authentic. Actually,
well, it is very authentic.
I've been there. I've been bawled out and on doorsteps and waiting for hours for obnoxious lawyers in their offices, trawling through documents. I've been there and done it, and I thought it was very authentic.
It's a tremendous story, and growing up in Boston, the Spotlight team were the original muckraking journalists. I mean, they broke stories on the State House, on the state police, on things that were just truly extraordinary. And Mike Barnacle was one of the leaders of that team, and just a tremendous muckraking journalist in your mold before he sold out and joined Morning Joe, but one of the best in the business. And I guess the interesting thing about it is that back in 1999, when a lot of this takes place, they contacted me because I had written a book about, and there's a section in there where I talk about priest abuse, but it was not the Catholic Church. It was in what is the U.S. version of the Church of England, and of course they wanted names, and they wanted to be able to
Presbyterian Church.
No, the Episcopalian Church. Yeah. And we talked about it as a family, and we thought, it's not worth, at this point, 30 years on, and a memory that comes back through basically a lead exercise by a therapeutic professional. How much credence could I really put in it? Is it something that was real or not? So we chose not to, but I spoke to the Spotlight team that was actually doing the work that became part of the movie Spotlight. So,
okay.
And their journalists were very good. They were very, very thorough even back then. So,
I mean, interesting thing to me. I mean, Darry, you'll know about this more than I do, but you can't generally dramatize journalism. It's very boring, actually, seeing somebody on the computer and endless phone calls and But this was very gripping, I thought.
Well, I think there are examples of really great. I mean, one of my favourite films of all time is All the President's Men, which is an absolute classic of all time, really. I mean, I feel a bit inadequate because I haven't seen this film yet, so I definitely have to catch it. But I think it's there's actually a dearth. If you go back to the 1970s, it's one of the things we talk about when we're doing the podcast on film, where the kind of serious medium budget films have gone, and what has happened is, in the film industry, you tend to get tentpole films that are $250 million, which are comic book adaptations or superhero movies, and then micro-budget independent films. And all the kind of serious mid-budget dramas are now being done by television. So it's interesting that this is a film that, is probably not that high a budget, but, is tackling these serious adult political issues.
Yeah, and as I said, it really spotlights and I don't mean to make light of the word, the good work of the Boston Globe over the last 4 or 5 decades. I mean, they have been the paper of record for everything in Massachusetts. So.